Bilal lived with the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, witnessing all the significant events with him. He would call the Adhan, call to prayer, and revive and protect the rituals of this great religion that brought him out of darkness into light and from slavery to freedom. The status of Islam rose, and with it, the status of the Muslims rose. Bilal grew closer to the heart of the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, every day, who described him as a man from the people of paradise. However, Bilal remained as he was, noble and humble. He only saw himself as the Abyssinian who was a slave yesterday. One day, he went to propose marriage for himself and his brother to two women. He said to their father, "I am Bilal, and this is my brother Adhan from Abyssinia. We were astray, and Allah guided us. We were slaves, and Allah freed us. If you marry us, your daughters, then praise be to Allah, and if you refuse us, then Allah is the greatest." The messenger passed away, pleased and pleasing to Allah, and his successor, Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, took charge of the affairs of the Muslims after him. Bilal went to the successor of the Messenger of Allah and said to him, "O successor of the Messenger of Allah, I heard the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, say, the best deed for a believer is jihad, striving in the way of Allah." Abu Bakr said to him, "So, what do you wish, O Bilal?" Bilal said, "I want to dedicate myself to guarding the frontiers in the way of Allah until I die." Abu Bakr said, "And who will call the Adhan for us?" Bilal said, with his eyes overflowing with tears, "I will not call the Adhan for anyone after the Messenger of Allah." Abu Bakr said, "Rather stay and call the Adhan for us, O Bilal." Bilal said, "If you freed me to be for you, then let it be as you wish. But if you freed me for the sake of Allah, then leave me to what you freed me for." Abu Bakr said, "Rather, I freed you for the sake of Allah, O Bilal." Narrators differ. Some narrate that he traveled to Sham, Greater Syria, where he remained as a mujahid, one who strives in the way of Allah, guarding the frontiers. Others narrate that he accepted Abu Bakr's request to stay with him in Medina. But when Abu Bakr passed away and Umar became the caliph, Bilal sought his permission and went to Sham. In any case, Bilal dedicated the rest of his life to guarding the frontiers of Islam, determined to meet Allah and His Messenger while engaged in the best deeds that they loved. He no longer called the Adhan with his melodious, tender, and awe-inspiring voice. Whenever he reached the words, "I bear witness that Muhammad is the Messenger of Allah," in the Adhan, his emotions would overwhelm him, his voice would fade under the weight of his sorrow, and his tears and sobs would speak the words. His last Adhan was during the time when the commander of the believers, Umar, visited Sham. The Muslims pleaded with Umar to urge Bilal to call the Adhan for them just once. The commander of the believers called Bilal, and when the time for prayer came, he requested him to call the Adhan. Bilal ascended and called the Adhan. The companions who had known the Messenger of Allah and Bilal calling the Adhan for him wept as they had never wept before. And Umar was the most deeply affected by the weeping. Bilal died in Sham, guarding the frontiers in the way of Allah, as he had wished. And under the soil of Damascus lies today the remains of a man who was one of the greatest of mankind in his steadfastness, in upholding his faith and conviction. Before you leave, pause for 10 seconds. What hit you the most in this story?